Welcome back to episode 71, Talking Sauce podcast. You might be wondering, where's Josh? Isn't this Josh usually intro on this podcast? You know what I'm saying? Asking everyone how they're doing, and yeah, usually is him. Just Jacob today though. Just Jacob solo dolo out here. You know, other guys had some family stuff going on, couldn't make it, but pushing that content, guys. You know what I'm saying? We're all about that content. No, we wanted to get an episode out to you. There's some stuff to talk about, especially in the world of the Hurricanes. So definitely don't want to miss the drop date. Can't do that. You can't do that. We're not about being late over here. So yeah, hopped on by myself. Came to talk to the people. You know, the young Keanu Reeves out here, the chosen one. It's all that's how I refer to myself in private settings. Typically, when telling people about the podcast, it'll be me and a friend hanging out. Like, oh, you get a podcast? But yeah, you know, I'm kind of like the one who holds the whole thing together. I'm kind of the man about it. And we'll see if if Josh, Dylan, or Cody actually listen to this podcast and have something to say about that. It's a test. We're going to see, are they going to listen to an episode they're not on? Do they care that much? I don't. I wouldn't. So we'll see. We'll see if they are better members of this podcast than I am. And based on how things are going right now, But no, I'm kidding. Shouts out them. They got family stuff going on. So yeah, hit them up. Tell them, you never want to hear an episode with this boring motherfucker ever again. Don't ever miss an episode. You know what I'm saying? Tell them. But yeah, so kind of getting into it. UFC 251 is this weekend in Abu Dhabi, and Gilbert Burns has tested positive for the virus, which I don't even think on YouTube you are allowed to say the name of it unless you're news sources, news channels. You'll get demonetized if you're outside. I believe if you're outside like a certain category, which is just strange. I guess I get it. Maybe they prevent the spread of disinformation or prevent people from trying to profit off of these terrible times, these unprecedented times. You don't want people just using it as the hot button topic for the sake of getting their views and clicks up, I guess. I don't know. But, we've been aware of it until, I'm sorry if you guys can hear this thunderstorm happening outside my windows right now. But so if you hear that again, I apologize. Yeah, and we on the podcast, been talking how it's been affecting the NHL, how it's been affecting hockey. Not really about it in general. We're not scientists. We are the experts. We're not scientists. But so Gilbert Burns has tested positive. He was fighting Kamaru Usman for the title as the headliner. So now they're looking to replace him with George or Jorge. I've heard it both ways, and I'm not sure which it is. Masvidal. They're trying to put him, who was originally supposed to be this fight, and they had contract issues, but they're trying to bring him in now, which is the fight everyone really wanted to see. Masvidal's got all that hype. Everyone wants to see Street Jesus baptize somebody else in the ring or in the cage, So it's very exciting. I thought Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman was going to be an excellent fight. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I think stylistically they match up very well, but it's Masvidal, he fastest knockout in UFC history, sent Ben Askren to another universe, you know what I mean? He's got the look, he's got the talk, he's got the attitude. I would love to see it. Super short notice, I don't know if he had still been training or what, because again, this was his fight originally. Contract disputes, Gilbert Burns got booked, and now it's back to Masvidal. So hopefully he's still been training. Hopefully he's been very safe with his day-to-day life and everything. Because, again, we want to see the fight happen. I saw Ariel Helwani bring up an interesting point on ESPN that, with this fight happening in Abu Dhabi, there's way more logistical work going on behind the scenes. a bunch of testing, a bunch of precautions that need to be taken. Big part of it because international travel. You move it, but Ariel Helwani brought up, you could move just that main card because Usman and Masvidal, I believe, have both been in the United States this whole time, training here, doing everything here. You keep them here, have them fight in Vegas where they've been holding all these fights leading up to this card. In Abu Dhabi, they've been having fights at the I think the UFC's like training center. I forget the name of it, but it's where they've been having cards. You just have that main card fight there. All you have to do is switch feeds over. You know, Abu Dhabi, fight there. Have all four. There's 5 fights on the main card. Have all 4 lead-up fights because all of them are good in Abu Dhabi. Bump it over to Las Vegas for the main card fight. There's no fans that you have to worry about ruining their in-person experience, and the fans at home watching on stream, they don't care that it's not happening in the same arena or the same venue. All they care about is they get a good fight in their face right then. So that's – and, you know, it's not as simple as that. I'm sure there's I think there's the time zone issue. You know, they'd be fighting it. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of stuff that more hurdles that you'd have to jump. But like Ariel Helwani brought up, WrestleMania did the same thing back in whichever WrestleMania that was. They had it in like 4 different locations happening simultaneously. And again, for the people watching, it's for the most part kind of a seamless transition. The problem with WrestleMania was there was people who paid for tickets to go see WrestleMania live in 3 different locations, and you're watching obviously 2/3 of it on the Jumbotron because only you're one of 3 venues hosting the event. So it would be unprecedented. And I think they're trying to just have it all happen in Abu Dhabi right now for the sake of having it all happen in the same place. Understandable. I think it would be, if they really want to get the fight done, think it's possible, would be kind of cool to see. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope everyone else is looking forward to that. And, yeah, shouts out to the UFC, to Usman, Masvidal, all of them. It's going to be a very exciting fight. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got going on. I don't know if the other guys had anything they cared to talk about, anything going on in their lives, but they didn't show up here to talk about it. So, you know. And so, episode 71, player shout out. Who else could we shout out but Gino himself, number 71, Evgeny Malkin, out there in Pittsburgh. As a Carolina Hurricanes fan, I hate it. I hate that they have Crosby and Malkin. It bums me out every day to this day, you know. It's so good. But Evgeny Malkin, future Carolina Hurricane, calling it now, drafted 2nd overall in 2004. However, and this is something I always kind of forget about. I'm dumb, so I'm probably the only one. But he didn't get to start in the NHL until 2006 because of a transfer dispute that he had with his – I guess it was with his the team he signed with in Russia, but the dispute was through the IIHF. I'm not 100% sure how the leagues are situated over there, how that works. But basically, he signed a 1-year contract with I'm trying to see what the name of the Metallurg. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I apologize. But his team in Russia, and he signed a 1-year deal, but then cited saying there was a lot of psychological pressure on him. You know, really he signed it because he felt like he had no other choice, not because it's what he wanted to do, but because he wanted to play in the NHL. He decided to he left. He was like, before training camp finished up in Helsinki, he was like, I'm out. Russia holds his passport, then, a whole bunch of legal dispute. They eventually let him come over, play in the NHL. His Russian junior team tried to sue him. It ended up being dismissed. And then finally, 2006, he gets to come over, actually play, wins the Calder as a rookie. Obviously, everyone knows, goes on to win 3 Stanley Cups, I mean, it's one of the best 1-2 punches in the NHL, maybe ever. I think there's a very real argument to make Crosby Malkin one of the best 1-2 center punches in in NHL history. Like, there's got to be, there's all sort. There's a bunch. I'm sure, but I mean, these guys got to be top five. People could argue it. I don't have the stats on me now, how they shape up, but I know that just being a cognizant fan, as I have been for the short amount of time, in fairness, that I've been a fan of the NHL compared to how long the NHL has been around. I mean, obviously, it started before the kid was born. So what are you going to do? But one of the best ever. So shouts out Evgeny Malkin. I can't wait for us to trade Jacob Slavin later on in his career for Evgeny Malkin, 1-for-1, and it'll be the final nail in the coffin before we get moved to Houston. So very exciting stuff, and I can't wait to see it. But speaking of the Hurricanes, moving right on, we'll just move right on into that. John Forslund, seems like, we talked about it on, I believe, the Scrum this past Wednesday. Not looking like he's coming back. It's a real bummer. Seems like with the way the team has been going with this whole pandemic situation as far as income goes, seems like he's not coming back. And the arguments, there's the one side that says this is a business, business decisions have to be made. It is what it is. And that is fair. That there's the one side of it where that is a fair assessment of the situation. The Hurricanes have been making a lot less money, obviously. No ticket sales, no live game, nothing, right? And then there's also people tack on top of that. They want to say, we have these huge bonuses for Aho. We have other players. You're looking at guys like Dougie and Svetch, and even that are going to have to be paid. Their contracts are going to have to be filled out, and they're not going to be cheap guys. And as a Hurricanes fan, you don't want them to be cheap guys, because if they're a cheap player, that means they haven't done what they're supposed to do. They have not been the superstar that we all hope and expect them to be. So I don't think, personally, I think this was a business decision. I don't think Tom Dundon was hurting for money. I don't know what Forslund asked. I think Dundon could have afforded to pay it. That's my belief. And I have here, shouts out to Sarah Sivian of The Athletic. If you have not subscribed to The Athletic, definitely do. Hurricanes aside, I mean, there's just, for any sport, they have great coverage, great inside scoops. Definitely worth it. This is not an ad for The Athletic, but if you'd like to sponsor us, The Athletic, hit the kid up. But so basically what the contract that was offered to Forslund was going to be, so they were, up until now, they had been salaried employees of the Carolina Hurricanes. So the new contract would make them independent contractors that would be given a base stipend and a bonus scale directly tied to attendance. And this is not, obviously, this is a source. This is not Forslund or Waddell or Dundon coming out saying this is the contract that was offered. But I trust Sarah. I trust her reporting, and I think if she put an article out on it, there's validity to it. And so when you look at it that way, if I'm Forslund going like, I think I'm the next guy in line for NBC, I think, the NHL is setting up the second streaming network that they're going to have, I believe, for the 2014 playoffs. From his eyes, he goes, I'm worth X number of dollars. I love Carolina. This is my home, has been my home. I've been a face of the team through really dark times. He's been a face of the team through some really dark times, and I think he helps keep the team valid in some hockey fans, old hockey men minds that, well, Forslund's here. Forslund can say like that, he can speak to the direction the team is trying to go in. And I think that means a lot. And I think Forslund knows that means a lot. So if I'm him, I'll say, you you're going to offer me whatever the base stipend is, which I'm sure was not equal to what his salary pay had been. You're going to offer me this and then tie the rest of my money up in attendance when, A, if I'm listening to Forslund call this game, I'm probably not in attendance. You know, he's only on the broadcast, I guess. If you know, there are some people that like to listen, especially back when like Chuck Caton, listen to him call the game as it happens. You know, it's like that part just it doesn't make sense to me. It's like Forslund's not. He's the broadcast guy. There are the stories of people. You know, I watched the game. Forslund, such a professional, so good at his job. I had such a good time watching the game. I was like, I'm definitely going to one. I'm definitely going to go to one, and that's big. But yeah, like yeah, he's if I'm at the game, I'm not. Forslund has very little to do with the minute to minute action. You know what I'm saying? Like you're getting some interviews in between. So, and then on top of that, we don't know if there's even going to be fans allowed in to the games for the beginning of next season, much less at all next season. So why, if I'm Forslund, would I go, yeah, that sounds fair. I'm going to tie up like 50% of my money because I believe that's the report was if it's a no fan situation, which is what a lot of people are anticipating, that the broadcasters are looking at a pay cut of more than half of last season's salary. So they're asking Forslund to do the same job. He's huge in the community day to day. I mean, he's like I would go. They used to, the Buffalo Brothers. I don't know if they still do, but they used to give tickets away free. Just random drawings, show up on like Hurricanes night, free tickets. You know, just a community outreach thing. And I went a couple times with like my parents. You know, just let's see if we win some tickets. We did a couple times, and Forslund's out there doing the drawing at just a Buffalo Brothers in fucking Garner, North Carolina, and he doesn't have to do that. I'm not saying it wasn't written in his contract or anything like that, but I'm saying Forslund being the guy that Forslund is, his status, what he brings, he can decide himself like, listen, I'm doing a lot. I don't have time to go to the Buffalo Brothers and do that drawing, you know, like he's doing games for NBC, he's doing the playoffs, like he's got, and I think he'll be the next guy on the NHL games when Doc Emmerich eventually retires. It's just he's got a lot. So from Forslund's perspective, it's why would I take a potentially 50% pay cut when I don't have to? And that's really what it comes down to for me. It's like this is Forslund making a smart business decision. Now, from a fan perspective, I hate it, and this is kind of what we said. I think the broadcasts are going to be affected negatively for a long time. I don't think you can easily find the next Forslund. I think he's so, you know, hey, what do you say? That's another Carolina Hurricanes goal. Like he's so cemented in with the team. He's so much a part of the team identity that I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch the broadcast the same. I really don't. I mean, I see some people saying like, you know, I'm going to watch the away team broadcast from here on out. I don't know if I'm going to go that far just because I do watch the games on cable and I get Fox Sports. So I'm watching the Hurricanes feed. But, you know, and, you know, there's Jason Shia, who I don't hate. I think he's just fine. He's not Forslund. That's very obvious. I don't think he's nearly as exciting. I don't think he has the same rapport with Tripp Tracy. You know, Forslund and Tripp's banter back and forth has always been good. Always like they're just so in tune, so in rhythm with each other, just rolling with every punch. You know, little inside jokes, all that stuff. It's just so well done. I don't know. It's going to take a long time for me as a fan to get over missing him from the broadcasts. And again, I feel like I have to keep telling myself this. It's not set in stone yet. There's still the Hail Mary chance that, the organization comes around and just, because I think back on the scrum this past last week, me and Josh were kind of talking about how we don't know the terms. Did they offer him, a fair deal, and then Forslund wants X number of dollars in a raise, and they're saying, well, we can't afford that right now. State of the team, state of the league, yada yada yada. And it made sense then, but now that the terms of the contract come out, you're looking at it like, oh, I mean, Forslund just seems to be asking for market value almost. Like, I feel like if they came around and just offered him a guaranteed market value contract, that he may even be willing to work, even if it's just for another year. Wait to see what other opportunities shake out, NBC, NHL, whatever. So it's just like, if hopefully the team comes around, like I said, not set in stone. I don't think it's going to happen. And like I said at the beginning of this whole long bullshit rant, which I'm sure people have already half tuned out of, but I think Dundon could afford to pay what Forslund's asking. I think he does have the money to do it. But I think he values certain parts of his organization, of his business, more than others. You saw that with him letting Chuck Caton go. I think that was a much more niche audience than what Forslund touches. Obviously, Caton, huge part of the Hurricanes, been here forever, but he was a radio guy. And radio it's dying. I mean, I don't want to be a dick about it. I'm not saying radio sucks. I've enjoyed plenty of radio programs throughout my life and all that. And I want them to have jobs, but the radio audience is dying. It's just, is what it is. People enjoy watching the sport more than just listening to it. So that decision by Dundon sucks, but you could almost kind of, whatever Caton's asking for, you kind of understand you're not getting that return on investment. So as a Hurricanes fan, you could write that off and be like, this really fucking sucks, but it is what it is, and maybe keep it moving. This Forslund thing, not valuing him at what I think he's valued at, what he obviously knows he's valued at, it's a much harder pill to swallow. I think, Dunn will make the argument that I don't know how much money they make off TV compared to how much they pay him. If he wants to break it down into those X's and O's and ones and zeros, then I mean, I guess I get it. And to an extent, Dundon has been responsible for kind of pulling this team out of the mud for the most part. You want to give it up for the GM by committee. I think that's been huge. I think they've been doing a lot. We had a lot of smart minds. You obviously saw Rick Dudley leave. And like we said, I think that was much more of not a money issue, more so as he has lived a long, full life. There's some positions open in Buffalo, and it's his hometown. Why not go? Why not go? Especially if maybe he does get a raise going up to Buffalo too. Obviously we were all the reports of the Hurricanes kind of underpaying, so why not go chase that money? But being Dundon, and like I said, I think if he really wanted to, he could afford to pay Forslund what he wants. I just don't think he values the position as much as the fans do. I think that might be a mistake. Only time will tell, if our TV ratings drop substantially, if, we don't know until we know, but I do think it would be a mistake on Dundon's part to not pay him. And I don't think it's a cheap thing. I don't think he's like pinching his pennies here. I think he just simply doesn't value certain parts of the organization as much as fans, the rest of the league do. And yeah, I think it's a mistake. Bottom line is, I think it's a mistake. I think you have to pay Forslund. I think he's such a big part of the community, such a big part of the team that you have to. But it is what it is, I suppose, as much as that's going to suck. And that's really all that's been going on with the Hurricanes. Phase 2 still going. We got some talk about, we said, I think it was Suzuki and uh, Bean, Suzuki and Bean, I think, who were part of the phase two call or the call ups for the playoffs. I've heard talk of Morgan Geeky, who was lighting it up there at the end of the season or the stoppage of the season, getting some chance at it. So that'll be good to see, seeing some fresh blood out there, getting these guys some chances to skate with the team. And shit, there was something else I was about to say. Oh, and then because you're also seeing Brendan Moore come out and say, it's we're going to have to see how these guys show up to camp is basically. He's saying, I would love to tell you right now, Mrazek's going to be the starter. Like this guy's going to be in the top 6, but he doesn't know how these guys have been treating this break and play. Some guys I'm sure have been working their ass off, staying in shape, and they're as close to game ready shape as possible. And then I'm sure you have other guys who maybe don't have access to a home gym, don't have access to the all the ability to stay in shape that other players do, and maybe they come in not as ready. They might have to catch up a little bit, and then that's when you circle, rotate guys in, let everyone get their skates under them, get their feet under them, and then let the lineup kind of sort itself out. And I trust Rod to do that, and I think having these young guys there who I am sure are ready to have their chance, they're ready to push the rest of the team and just get that energy going. I think it's going to be really good. And if this season even continues to happen, that's still obviously very up in the air. Now moving on to the rest of the league. Again, not too much happening. Phase 2's happening all over. Saw McDavid and Draisaitl back skating together. Good for the Oilers. Gotta love that. But the talk now has kind of been with the draft lottery happening is, are there going to be teams who would be willing to tank, lose their chance at Stanley Cup to go for that number 1 pick, to go get Alexis Lafreniere, if that's how you say it? I don't think so. First of all, because people want to say there's an asterisk next to the Stanley Cup. Whoever wins it won't be real, yada, yada, yada. And my counterpoint to that would be, I think this Stanley Cup might be one of the hardest Stanley Cups to win ever. And this is obviously dependent upon all the teams staying healthy, not continuing to test negative, all that stuff. I don't know if that's possible, but in what other year has there been like a 3-month break between the season and when the playoffs start? These guys have had 3 months. I mean, look at the Hurricanes. We went out and got Brady Shea and Sammy Vatanen because we thought we were going to be down Dougie Hamilton and Brett Pesce for the remainder of the season. Wham, bam, 3 months later, we got Dougie back healthy, Vatanen's healthy, everyone's healthy, and now it's like, oh shit, who do we ice? That's a really stacked defensive core. And it's like that for a lot of teams. We're getting guys back healthy. And I just don't see how, that's going to be 24 teams that are ready to go. They haven't been doing anything for the past 3 months. I assume most of these guys love to play the game. They're going to be so ready to go, so well rested, maybe rusty, but ready to go and hungry for that cup. Especially some of these teams that are they're being told, a team like the Rangers, they're being told you weren't supposed to be in the playoffs, even though the season wasn't over. You weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. You weren't going to, teams like the Canadians, you guys weren't good enough. You're getting lucky. They're sitting there well, hold on a minute. First of all, season wasn't over. Maybe was the writing on the wall, maybe, but they were one hot streak away from being right back in it, and they're going, this is our fucking chance to go prove to all these clowns that we're a good team. And you're looking at those 2 teams I mentioned. I mean, you're looking at a team with Carey Price and a team with Henrik Lundqvist and Rangers, 2 other great goalies, mind you. So with Shesterkin and Georgiev. I'm really bad with names. That's all you're going to take away from this episode is how bad I am with pronouncing names and remembering things. And what can I say? Um, Keanu did not have a photographic memory. So how can you expect me to? But yes, it's going to be these teams' chance to prove that they are a good team and they are good teams and they're coming out well rested. Uh, I don't think it's going to be this toss away thing that everyone's talking about like it's going to be. Like the players don't. They're talking like the players don't care about it. They're talking like the organizations don't care that like it's going to be some just bullshit thing. And I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the players are treating it that way. And because of that, I don't think it's worth the 12% chance of landing the first overall pick to give up on this tournament. I don't think because you look at the 24 teams in it. The only teams that I would say like maybe you do take it because you need the talent. Would Minnesota, which they've already come out and said like, nah, we're not doing that. Like we're not tanking. And I think they're kind of in that space where they've got a lot of aging talent and they're nearing the end of their window. Some would say they've already passed their window to win the cup. So I don't think they're going to do it. Maybe Arizona. Again, I think they're way better than people want to give them credit for nationally. And the Hurricanes, honestly, people would probably say like, are we going to just give it up, go for Lafreniere, keep stacking that young talent like we seem to love doing? And those are the only teams I can really see. I mean, maybe Chicago. Maybe Chicago is a team that tanks to go pick up Lafreniere and have him be there, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Tays, like to bring all those guys. And again, I don't see anyone doing it. I think it'd be a happy consolation prize for getting kicked out, but I don't think the 12% chance that you would have to win it's going to be worth just tanking to go out and get him. And again, because Lafreniere is not a guaranteed thing either. I know I've watched the film, looks great. By all accounts, is going to be excellent, but there's no guarantee, Yakupov was supposed to be excellent too, and we saw how that turned out. Stanley Cups are Stanley Cups. You get a ring, you got a ring. There's no two ways about it. So I don't really see it happening. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's dumb. I saw just kind of some more news. It came out. I forget who said it, but they were like, these basketball players are complaining about not being able to, I guess, have any women in their bubble down in Florida, I believe. Down in Florida, they're not going to be allowed to bring women in. And then some guy came out and said, like, I don't think Sidney Crosby is thinking about, sleeping with women more than he's thinking about winning the Stanley Cup, like these other guys out here playing basketball. And I don't know why people think that hockey players are these like good, wholesome, family traditional, good Christian boys. I don't know when hockey players. I don't know when they turned into these saints and not pussy hounds. But I don't know if that's offensive or too aggressive. But you know what I'm saying? There's a reputation that hockey players have. And I don't know where this narrative has started that like they're these pure these pure of intent people. But I thought it was funny to see that where they're trying to shame these basketball players. It's like I don't know. I know that I think they're getting Disney World or whatever. But dude, you look at what they're setting up for these hockey players. It's like, dude, they're bringing people in to run restaurants and food trucks and also open up all sorts of businesses just to have these guys play, which I think is good. I think, if you're going to force these guys to live away from home for months at a time, you got to give them something. You can't just keep them in a hotel room for fucking 2 months and be like, go perform at your best out there on the ice and then shut up and go home. So it's good, but it's like, I don't think that NBA players are the only guys worried about getting laid. while they're off playing their sport. You know, I don't think it's that exclusive to the NBA. But who am I? Who am I but some clown in his mom's basement? This isn't my mom's basement. Just recording a podcast no one's going to listen to. What do I know? Nothing. I don't know. I know absolutely nothing. But I am an expert. We are the experts. But yeah, I think that's been episode 71. I'm Keanu Reeves. I don't know if it was short or long. I don't have the timer going, but thank you for listening. Cancellation Cup, again, check that out. We're playing tonight against Kane's Stats. I said that without fully knowing all the way, but definitely check that out. Cancellation Cup on Twitter. The next season's coming up and however long that's going to be. So keep a lookout for that. Sign up, tell your friends, bada boom, bada bam, all that stuff. You can get us at Talkin Sauce Pod, no underscore, respect the underscore. Always respect the underscore. You can get me at JAY underscore COBBB. You can get Josh at Teebs, TEABZZ. You can get Cody at CD underscore 2187. And you can get Dylan at